All right, let's get right into it. We all think, right? I mean, it's what we do all day, every day. But have you ever really stopped to think about how you think? See, reasoning, it isn't just one single skill. It's more like a whole collection of powerful mental tools that we use to make sense of everything. And today, we're going to open up that toolkit.
So, let me ask you this, and I want you to really think about it. When you decide what to believe, or how to act, or what you're going to create next, what is actually happening inside your head? It's not some kind of magic, right? It's a process, and just understanding that process is the very first step to getting better at it.
At its heart, this is what we're talking about. Reasoning is kind of like the engine that takes all the raw data flying around us, the facts, the things we see, the articles we read, and it turns it into something useful, something we can actually act on. It's how we go from just having information to having real insight. To really get a handle on all this, we're going to talk about these different types of reasoning as if they're distinct tools in your own personal mental toolkit. You know, each one has a specific job, a very specific strength, and knowing which tool to pull out for which task, well, that's the mark of a really sharp thinker.
So, let's start with the big ones. The three fundamental engines that power most of our thinking. You can think of these as the power tools of your collection, like the cordless drill, the big saw, and the sander, the real workhorses.
What's so cool about these two is that they are perfect mirror images of each other. Deductive reasoning, that's the logic of certainty. Think like Sherlock Holmes, right? All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. You start with a big true rule and you apply it down to a specific case. Inductive reasoning, though, is the total opposite. It's the logic of discovery. You watch the sun rise every single morning, so you form a generalization. The sun will probably rise tomorrow. It's how we learn from experience and spot patterns.
And here is the third engine. This is the creative one. Abductive reasoning is your inner detective. You walk into the kitchen, you see muddy footprints on the floor and a wet umbrella by the door. You don't deduce it's raining, you make an abductive leap. You make an educated guess that rain is the most plausible explanation. This is the tool that helps us create new theories from just a few clues.
Okay, so you've got these incredible engines of thought, but how do you make sure the work they're doing is actually any good? Well, for that, you need your quality control tools. Think of these like the safety goggles and the level and the measuring tape for your mental workshop.
Now this is the first, most basic check, and it's a little weird, so stick with me. Validity is purely about the structure of the argument. Does the conclusion actually follow from the starting points? For example, all birds can fly. A penguin is a bird, therefore a penguin can fly. Now logically, the structure is perfect, it's totally valid. But we all know the conclusion is wrong because that first premise was just plain false.
And this is where we get to the gold standard, a sound argument. That's the whole ballgame. It means not only is the logic valid, but that logic is built on a foundation of actual verifiable truth. This is what we're always aiming for, a conclusion that is both logically structured and factually correct.
So here's a super practical takeaway for you. Anytime you hear an argument, just run this simple two-step test. Step 1, check the logic. Does the machine work? Is it valid? Step 2, check the facts. What are you putting into the machine? Are the premises true? You only have a really sound argument when you can say yes to both.
Now, we also have to be on the lookout for the faulty tools, the ones that can sneak into our toolkit and mess everything up. Fallacies are basically tricks of logic. They sound super persuasive, but deep down, they're broken. They often work by playing on our emotions or our biases to lead us down a path to a conclusion that just isn't right.
And the best defense against those faulty tools, it's this one right here, critical reasoning. Think of it like your brain's antivirus software. It's the active process of questioning everything, interrogating your own assumptions, checking where the evidence comes from, and always being on the lookout for those logical fallacies to keep your thinking clear and honest.
All right, so we've got our engines and our quality checks. Now let's move on to the more specialized tools, the ones we really need to navigate the messy, complicated real world.
This tool right here is your anchor to reality. It's the one that insists that our conclusions have to be tied to observable, verifiable data. It's the discipline that forces us to separate what we can actually demonstrate from what we just believe or feel. Plain and simple. It demands proof.
Now this is the engineer's or the entrepreneur's favorite tool. Pragmatic reasoning isn't really concerned with abstract theories or perfect ideals. It asks a much simpler question.
Yeah, but does it work? It judges ideas based on their practical consequences and whether you can actually pull them off in the real world.
And then we have this one, which is absolutely essential for the kinds of questions where data alone just can't give us an answer. Moral reasoning is what we use to grapple with what's right and wrong, what's fair and unjust. It's the tool that guides our conscience when we have to decide not just what is possible, but what should be done.
And finally, let's look at a few tools that go beyond just analyzing the world as it is. These are the tools that help us imagine how it could be totally different. These are the tools of real innovation.
This might be one of the most powerful creative tools that we have. Seriously, analogical reasoning is what happens when someone first explained a computer virus by comparing it to a biological one. It builds a bridge from something we already know to something we don't. And that bridge, that's where brand new ideas are born.
This is your mind's own built-in flight simulator. Hypothetical reasoning is that little voice that's always asking, okay, but what if? It lets us play out all these different scenarios, explore the consequences, and test our ideas out in our imagination before we ever have to take a risk in the real world. It's really the foundation of all planning and strategy.
And for those moments that demand a true radical breakthrough, you've got this, the mental reset button. Zero-based thinking means you throw out all your old assumptions, everything you think you know, and you start completely from scratch. Instead of asking, how can we make this better? It asks, if we were starting fresh today, knowing what we know now, would we even be doing this at all? It's a tool for radical reinvention.
This really sums it all up so well. Reasoning guides judgment toward conclusions that are not only logically valid, but pragmatically effective, ethically grounded, and continually revisable. What this is really saying is that truly good thinking isn't just one thing. It's a blend. It's a whole system where your logic is checked by facts, your ambition is guided by what's practical, and your actions are informed by your ethics, all while staying humble enough to know you might need to change your mind.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. We've just unboxed a whole set of incredible mental tools today. Which one do you feel like you need the most right now? Which is the one that, if you started consciously practicing and sharpening it tomorrow, would make the biggest difference in how you think, how you work, and how you live? The toolkit is yours.